let's just speak to what comes up that's important for a beginner. I'm often in my head sort of like thinking about what comes first, the chicken or the egg, in terms of like the goal, how much money you need, borrowing capacity, having the right structure, putting a team together. And there's no perfect ingredient to put in first or thing to work on first, other than at least knowing that you want to get to a certain destination. It's probably going to be a lifestyle destination for you if you're listening to this, with property, by using property as a vehicle. And I think it's worth starting at least thinking about what sort of lifestyle you want first and how much money you need to live that lifestyle, and then build a property portfolio that can allow you to have that income and the time that you need to the time you want for that lifestyle. So that's probably the first point, I guess, Sam.
Yeah, goals. It's important to sort of have that framework and why you're doing this, because I say to people is that it's never a smooth journey going through property investing, whether you're building or buying anything. To be fair, because there's it's a big ticket item. There's a lot of emotion in place, and also on average Australians buy property once in 11 years. So during that 11-year time frame, the framework of the property industry in Australia is changing so much, especially with technology, that people are uneducated, and that's obviously a big part of why we're doing this podcast and this episode. But yeah, number one's always, why are you doing this? What are your goals? What are you working towards? And understanding that, because that's in Japanese they call it your ikigai, which is your guiding light in that sense.
In Sanskrit, it's called dharma.
Yeah, God, we should get deeper in these pods. We're both going. Well, Jared's
on spiritual journeys.
Which is good for your mindset and growth as an individual. But yeah, that's something that I've learned a lot, especially running strategy sessions and talking to people. Is having that goal in place. It really helps you ride the waves of emotion throughout this. And also it helps from a strategy point of view to put the right pieces in place first.
Yeah, it helps to, I guess, to add to what you've just said, is to have your lifestyle and the property portfolio that you want that's going to feed you that lifestyle, allow you to live that lifestyle, and then work backwards from it to get to a point where you're at as a beginner right now, starting with zero. What is the platform property that you purchase? And then also keeping your goal and your lifestyle, what you want to achieve, will change and it will fluctuate. And I suggest it should, because as you change as a human, you should change your goals as well to have them be more fulfilling for you. But it'll get you to a starting point where you're at right now to find out what is the first primary property that I can use as a platform to buy and invest in, and then what will the second one be to get to the next step for that property portfolio, and then what would the third one be? And so with the first one, we, typically we're not buying. If you're wanting to get good capital growth from the start, typically, Sam, that's what a beginner should be looking for, is getting good capital growth before they move into cash flow. If I guess you'll say under a certain age. If you're over a certain age, and this is depending on you and your life situation, maybe you are going for a cash flow grab too. So you understand where you're at in your own life and your timeline too, right?
Yeah, well, the underlying fundamentals of it all from the 101 beginner side is, there's many different vehicles to go through. My suggestion for most people is to keep it simple. There's a KISS analogy, keep it simple, stupid, which I've been taught from the old basketball days. But it's fundamentally important, because the first one sets you up for what you're trying to achieve. And it might even just be one investment. So you want to make sure that one is going to be a real good quality investment property that's going to serve you well over time. And generally that sounds in the residential space from a lower risk perspective and easier to understand. Like commercial, obviously we've had some commercial buyers agents on the podcast. We've been doing a bit of a series around that. That is really a great vehicle as well. It's a little bit more difficult to understand the ins and outs of it all and doing the calculations, because most people haven't come from a commercial property background. They understand residential because they live in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is an easier process in terms of like due diligence. It's harder to have an investment go wrong for you in residential than in commercial. It's, I guess, a lot. I mean, it's still quite regulated in commercial,
Mhm.
but residential, it's the process is the same pretty much every single time, and we've got so many great systems set up around. Makes it hard for people to go wrong in terms of the buying of it. What can go wrong is you're buying the wrong asset, which we'll talk about soon with team and who to use and how and why.